Welcome into Payoff Pitch, Action Network's Major League Baseball betting podcast presented by BetMGM. I'm Brendan Glasheen, joined by BJ Cunningham and Charlie DiSturco. We are attempting to record this while the Home Run Derby is happening. So any noises you may hear, if you're on the audio side, might be cheers, could be swear words. That is allowed. Bear with us. But yes, we are recording Monday night ahead of Tuesday night's MLB All-Star Game at Globe Life Field in Arlington, Texas. We will begin with best bets. So just to kind of lay it all out there, right now the American League is the slight favorite at minus 120. The National League just a smidge over plus money, plus 102. Totals at 7.5, slight juice to the under. And there you go. Paul Skeens is starting for the National League. That's fun. Pulling him after a no-hit bid, I thought was not fun, but that's baseball. And Corbin Burnes of the Orioles. New Oriole, Corbin Burnes, is going to get the start for the American League for tomorrow night's game. So I will lead with BJ Cunningham. Best bet, doesn't have to be the total or the side, but we'll work it all in. We'll go to props. We'll do some final bets, MVP looks, but a best bet, BJ, for the 2024 MLB All-Star Game.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the American League at minus 120. I know Zerillo had them projected, north of minus 125 in that minus 130 range. And really what this comes down to is who is not available for the National League. As of time of recording this, Fernando Tatis Jr., Tyler Glasnow, Ryan Helsley, Chris Sale, Ranger Suarez, and Zach Wheeler are all not going to play in this game. And those five starting pitchers beyond Paul Skeens, you can make the argument are the next five best pitchers for the National League. Whereas then you look at the National League's lineup towards the end of it, obviously Ohtani is in there, Trey Turner, Bryce Harper. They're going to lead off with Ketel Marte. But then you get into the bottom where it's Christian Yelich, Baum, Teoscar Hernandez, and Jurickson Profar. You compare that to the bottom of the order in the AL where it's Jose Ramirez, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Rauschman, Simeon. Like that's a much better bottom of the order for the American League.
Yeah, it's like a Dodgers-built NL
exactly
lineup.
Exactly, Brendan. Yes.
And all-star comparatively. Yeah.
Yeah. And then even, without Helsley in there, and then you look at, the relief pitchers. I mean, Jeff Hoffman, Tanner Scott, Matt Strahm, Robert Suarez, and Kyle Finnegan compared to Class A, Clay Holmes, Andre Munoz, Mason Miller, and Kirby Yates. I mean, that's a way better relief pitching options that the American League has. I mean, you can make an argument, the American League, once we get beyond Corbin Burnes, I mean, it's Hawk, Reagan, Skubal, three or four of the elite pitchers so far. So I think that the American League has advantages in all three aspects of this game. So, we could dig into the reserve type roster, but typically what happens with the All-Star game here is the first 4 or 5 guys in the lineup are going to get 2 at-bats, and then beyond that, you may, only see the guys towards the end of the lineup get 1 at-bat, and that's how may very well how Terry Lovullo might play this, but I think the American League is leaps and bounds better than the National League because the National League's missing a lot of their key guys here. So I really like the American League at minus 120.
All right, very good. Charlie, you've got a thought on the American League side as well and possibly the total.
Yeah, there's not much I really have to add when it comes to why the American League probably has more value than the National League in this one. You just look at the lineup too. Like you just look at it, the top 5 hitters, the lineup in general. It's just like as you get down the order, the American League outpaces the National League in just about everything. And I think the injuries loom large. And this is also like, I know managerial stuff might not matter as much, but it kind of does at times in this All-Star game. And Bochy's, been around the block for a very long time versus Lovullo. So I think that even just like you go hitting, pitching, injuries, and managerial, strengths, the American League has it. So I do like, laying the American League here. Also like the under. I think the under has some value. It's been under this total in 14 of the last 17 All-Star games. Everyone wants to see fireworks, all the best hitters in baseball, but there's not normally that when you have such fire-throwing starting pitchers also and some of the best arms that come in for just a glimpse. No one can get comfortable because, as BJ said, at the max, it's normally 2 at-bats per person. So, like the American League, like the under in this one, won't be surprised if we see a very low-scoring game on both sides.
I also should mention the National League's only won 1 game since 2012. which is kind of an interesting stat. It doesn't really make much sense here. But again, that's kind of a fun aspect of this.
That handicap that Charlie just gave on the under felt a lot like I was listening to an AFC North like handicap on like Steelers and Ravens.
Well, you can play matchups here, right? Like, you're never going to see a pitcher, a second or third time through. So that tends to make it a little more low scoring when you can tell the best pitchers in the game to just go throw one inning.
And wasn't it like early in the year? I know it's not quite the same. It's not teams, but it's all-star teams, but we were hitting on bullpen success in the early part of the year. And I mean, that's quite, like you said, you play matchups, you got quite the advantage here in this spot with the, really, I should know this as the host coming in. Are they going to use the pitch clock's a thing, right? That's a thing.
Oh, yeah.
This.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right. Wasn't sure if they got rid of it last year.
Everyone's going to be mic'd up too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. We were all in, well, not BJ wasn't there. He wanted to go, but we were all in New York last year during the Action Network Summit. So there were some beverages being had, and I may not have been fully paying attention as it pertains to the pitch clock. So clock is in play as it pertains to the All-Star game. All right, so there are your best bets. American League and under is what what the guys are leaning towards. Let's go to props. This is fun. This is tricky though too, based on how much time these guys actually see plate appearances. And I can't imagine there's much available in the pitching market because of the short leashes these guys will have. So these will be hitting props mostly. BJ, what do you got from the player prop perspective?
Yeah, so a couple. Willem Contreras to get a hit plus 115. He's a lefty killer over a 200 weighted runs created plus against left-handed pitching. I would assume after Corbin Burns is done pitching that it's going to be Tariq Skubal or Garrett Crochet, which will give Contreras a very good option to get a hit. And then even deeper, there's a lot of left-handed starting pitching arms in the AL. So if it comes around to him for his second at bat, he's probably going to get another chance to get a hit off of a lefty. So I like him at plus 115. And this is a fun one. Trey Turner 4-1 to get the first hit in the game. The National League is the away team, so they are going to bat first. And if you look at matchup specifics against Corbin Burns, who we know has one of the best cutters in baseball. He throws it about 45% of the time. Marte tends to struggle against those, around a 250 weighted on base average against cutters. Ohtani is pretty average, around 320 weighted on base average. Trey Turner over a 500 weighted on base average against right-handed cutters. So, of those three guys, I think he has the best matchup here against Corbin Burns. He'll get to see him through two batters. So for him to get the first hit at 4-1, I think is kind of interesting. Also, along those same lines, if Skeens just flame throws everybody on the American side through the first inning and Burns is able to get through the first three, Willem Contreras as well is an interesting play at 22-1 to get the first hit.
All right. Excellent. Very good. That's a fun one. The first hit of the game in the top of the first from the National League. Okay. Charlie, what do you got for player prop for the All-Star game?
Yeah. So, looking at the roster, right. And one guy that BJ didn't mention that is not, I think, officially out, but could be out is Luis Ariz as well, who is probably the only flexible infielder, unless you move a shortstop to second base, for Ketel Marte, who I expect as the leadoff hitter is going to get at least two, if not three at-bats. And you look at the bench for the NL, it's Abrams, Ellie, Ryan McMahon, and that is it. I guess, like, Brian Reynolds, could he play, like, the infield? Yeah, like, he's done it before. Like, that would be the group of people that would come in and then replace the infield of Ketel Marte playing second base. So keeping that all in mind and then talking about props, he's plus 130 to get a hit. He's also one of the best pure hitters in baseball. He's obviously get the matchup of the righty first. You'd want the lefty like William Contreras. I do like that prop as well. But Marte also has the 308 average in 13 at-bats against Corbin Burns in his career. And, for example, if, say, there's a hit or a walk from the starter of Corbin Burns and then they go to Skubal and then they go Crochet, he'll get a righty-lefty matchup against Crochet in which he crushes left-handed pitching as well. So I really like Ketel Marte here. I don't even hate a stab at him to lead in MVP voting by then, just because of playing time. Like, it's hard to project how many of these guys are going to play. Like, like I love Trey Turner and I love, Gunnar Henderson, but how much are they going to play when then you look at, the fact that both AL and NL reserves, they have, Corey Seager and, Bobby Witt Jr. waiting. Those guys are going to get in because they're electric. And same with the NL, Ellie De La Cruz, CJ Abrams. So with all that being said, Ketel Marte is definitely my favorite to get a hit. Then the other guys, both catchers, Adley, Rutschman, William Contreras, I'm intrigued by for hits because there's only one backup catcher. So, at a minimum, you're getting 2 at-bats from each of them. Adley, obviously, batting 8th doesn't help him his chances of getting a third. And then I'm intrigued by Juan Soto and Steven Kwan. I am debating on pulling if there's 2 guys that are going to get a hit against Paul Skeens, I think it's going to be the 2 best eyes in baseball that aren't going to chase, that are going to wait for the pitch. I don't hate their hits are around plus. Kwan is plus 105, Soto plus 125. We know what Kwan could do, fully healthy, about a 400 batting average this year. And Soto, I don't think he's going to really walk here. I think Skeens is going to attack him with a heater. And we saw, Shohei maybe strike out once and then get the best of him the second time. I wouldn't be surprised if Soto jumps on a first pitch fastball and crushes it. So those are the 4 guys that I kind of had circled for hits. Just based on playing time, I think those guys at a minimum are going to get 2. I wouldn't be surprised if a guy like Ketel Marte gets 3.
There you go. There are your player props. And by the way, from the pitching standpoint, the markets that are available are strikeout props for some of these guys that might come into the game. And you've got Paul Skeens strikeout market as well available there.
Yeah.
Right.
By the way, before, sorry, not to interrupt you, but I would not be betting Skeens to strike out 2+ batters in an inning.
No.
I know that's
one of the
plus
135
there. Yeah, like people are going to want to bet on Paul Skeens. If you're going to want to bet on him to go 3 up, 3 down. Like I would say just don't bet on in general. But the fact that he's got to face Kwan and Soto, 2 of the 3 best eyes in baseball, through the best contact, they're not striking out that much. And as good as Skeens and electric as Skeens is, this is another. These are guys that I wouldn't be telling you to jump all over. Him to get those 2 strikeouts in the first inning any other game would probably be even more odds in this, but it's juiced because of the All-Star game and people want the Paul Skeens action, but don't bet that one. Bet 3 up, 3 down if you're going to bet any.
Yeah, I mean, it was very funny that Bruce Bochy has Aaron Judge hitting 4th to potentially avoid a situation against Paul Skeens. I find that to be very funny that he did that. So we'll see if Paul Skeens gets hit once, then we could see Judge versus Skeens.
I'd love that. That'd be good. All right, let's do MVP/final bets. These are fun. BJ's got a couple he's eyeing for MVP of the All-Star game.
Yeah, so I already mentioned it. William Contreras, 35-1. A guy who's going to get 2 bats against the lefties. If you look at, so I think we should probably lay out what's happened previously in MLB All-Star games in terms of actually winning the MVP. I would not bet a pitcher at all under any circumstances in this market. There have been 3 pitchers to win the All-Star game MVP since 1999. Pedro Martinez in 1999, Mariano Rivera 2013. It was his final All-Star game, and Shane Bieber in 2019. The game was played in Cleveland, and it was a 4-3 game with not much, no hitter really standing out. So they gave it to the hometown guy. There's really no Ranger pitcher that's even playing in this game that they.
Yeah, Skeens has the shortest number at 20-1.
Exactly, and so the only way that you could actually see Skeens winning it, in my mind, is if he strikes out 3 batters on 9 pitches and the game ends 1-0. That would be the only scenario that I think he would actually win it. So I would target hitters if there's anybody out there. William Contreras 35-1 again, like I already mentioned. Trey Turner 20-1, having that great matchup that I know against Burns right away to kick things off. If he can get an extra base hit there, and he also will probably get a second at bat since he's hitting 3rd in the lineup. And then last season, we had a long shot win it. Elias Diaz, catcher from the Rockies. If you remember, it was a very close game, and he got a huge 2 or 3 RBI double to break the game wide open, and that eventually won the American League the game. I believe that he was 80 or 90-1 to win the MVP. So along those same lines of it's a close game, low scoring, nobody's really hitting a home run, nobody's really had that type of moment. David Fry of the Guardians is 100-1. He is going to be the DH behind Yordan Alvarez. He's been outstanding this season. He's good against both righties and lefties. He's especially a lefty killer. And there are a couple lefties in the National League pen that he could see in potentially the 8th inning. So if you want your long shot Elias Diaz repeat, I like David Fry at 100-1.
Love it. All right. Yeah, that was fun last year watching Diaz come in because it actually saved the National League money line side.
Yeah,
that
it did. Yeah, National League. Excuse me. Did I say American League? National League is what I meant.
Yeah. No, I think you had it. Okay. But yeah, that was a fun finish. And then Craig Kimbrell, my God, that guy last year in the All-Star game. Oh boy, it's gonna do the Orioles in. You watch, it will do them in at some point.
And the thing is now that Helsley's not there, I mean, it's like I said, it's Jeff Hoffman, Tanner Scott, Matt Strahm, Robert Suarez, and Kyle Finnegan. Like those are your relievers for the National League. So, yeah, it's not good.
Charlie, take us home. Final bets, as well as maybe an MVP.
Yeah, I mean, Ketel Marte's my MVP pick if I had to take one. His best number is 40-1 out there. The other guy that I think is I mentioned all the guys that get hits. Those are the other guys that I'm intrigued by. But then I think there's other one that is even interesting as well, and that's Corey Seager. I believe he's like 50-1 at most places. I'm intrigued by as well, just because it's in Globe Life. And if he has a big hit in his home field in that late inning against the pretty crappy relievers that BJ's laid out time and time again, how bad they are, he's going to come in and he's one of the best hitters in baseball from a pure standpoint and has finally started looking better of late. Came in, off surgery this season and was slow to start the season. But I think like Corey Seager at a 50-1 number late in the 7th, 8th inning, he hits a home run or a double, and we already expect it to be a low-scoring game, and it's the decision maker, the ultimate final punch. I don't know how you don't give it to him unless someone else goes ballistic. So I'm intrigued by him as well, just because of the narrative, as all these things are narrative-based a lot of the time. So a big hit and a big moment, I wouldn't mind sprinkling on Seager. But yeah, Ketel Marte, I think from just an overall perspective of volume and ability and getting on base and scoring the first run or scoring the deciding run could come down to the fact that he gets 2 to 3 at bats. So I like him at 40-1 as well.
Okay, very good. There's your handicap, folks, for the 2024 MLB All-Star Game, 8 o'clock Fox tomorrow night, Tuesday night, July 16th. American League under, some MVP looks, some hitting props as well. And the message also out there is do not be enticed to take Paul Skeens in the over on the strikeouts. But who knows? I mean, it's a good call.
Or MVP, don't do it.
I mean, the only way, like obviously we can't project this is if they're like, yeah, Skeens is throwing 2 innings because of all the injuries. Then it's like, all right, maybe if he gets 4 or 5 Ks, but you'd have to like know.
That's not fair to everybody else, right? Like you have like 12 other pitchers.
That guy throws 2 innings, I will be more outraged about the 7 innings, 9 pitches, no hitter going the other day.
Hasn't there been a couple guys that have thrown into the second before?
Yeah, there was. I cannot remember for the life of me. I was looking at it today.
Sorry, Brendan's wrapping up, and I'm like, no, wait.
No,
it's like, it was like maybe like 3 or 4 years ago.
There was someone. I think it was
Scherzer. I think it might have been Scherzer.
I think you're right. Yeah, but I mean, listen, if they come out and they say that, and they're like, yeah, we don't want Scott and Finnegan and whatever. Like Lovello wants to win. Lovello wants to win, and the NL wants to win.
Well,
and Skeens is going to win.
If this game actually decided who got home field advantage in the World Series, then I would say Paul Skeens would probably be pitching 2 innings here, but it doesn't anymore. So I think that was I'm pretty sure that was when Scherzer was at his peak and the game still actually like mattered. So, but I could be wrong. Go ahead and tweet at me. Tell me I'm wrong.
I was just double checking if Garrett Cole didn't do it either. I thought Garrett Cole may have.
There was someone that did it it had to be like 5 years ago, maybe 7 years ago. I don't know. All these games blend in together, especially when they're meaningless.
Pedro did. For what that's worth. Yeah. All right. Very good. For BJ Cunningham, Charlie DeSturco, Brendan Glasheen. Find those guys in the Action Network app for any other plays they may give out for the All-Star Game. Please rate, review, and subscribe to Payoff Pitch. We enjoy those reviews, especially. Leave a 5-star rating and review. We will try to do some giveaways. We're going to be back here on Thursday night ahead of the Friday slate to introduce the second half of the season. Also, if you want another All-Star game preview, Sean Zerillo has a write-up right now at Action Network, actionnetwork.com, with his breakdown of the All-Star game. Thanks for tuning in. Payoff Pitch is Action Network's MLB betting podcast presented by BetMGM. Enjoy the All-Star game. We'll talk to you again at the end of the week for the second half of the season.